As we learn more details, the White House prepares to honor Charlie Kirk tomorrow in Arizona at a massive memorial celebrating the life of an icon. And with that, let's bring in White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt, my very first guest. Karoline, welcome.
Thanks for having me, Kaylee. I'm honored to be your first guest, and congratulations on your new show and your new baby, too.
Thank you. I've got a 3-month-old, for those of you who don't know. Karoline, great to have you. I want to get to the memorial and the important plans that the White House has, but I do want to start with the news that broke overnight. And let's pull up the president's Truth Social. A big development, the White House saying that they have taken out a strike that killed 3 male narco-terrorists that were aboard the vessel. No U.S. forces were harmed in this strike. Karoline, what can you tell us about this strike on these narco-terrorists?
Well, what I can tell you is this is the 3rd successful strike on a boat that was flowing in international waters, seeking to bring illegal drugs and deadly poison into the United States of America. And anyone who is seeing these very striking videos of these successful strikes, blowing up these 3 boats and now killing 17 narco-terrorists, should not be surprised, because throughout President Trump's entire campaign on his way back to the White House, he said he, as Commander-in-Chief, will not tolerate the trafficking of illegal drugs into the United States of America anymore. He has taken historic action to secure our land borders. He completely shut down the border, and we've seen the trafficking of illegal drugs over our southern border with Mexico significantly decline. We've had 0 illegal aliens released into the country over the past 4 months, which is a historic, unprecedented record that is not getting enough coverage from the mainstream media. But securing our homeland is not just our land territorial borders. It also includes securing our maritime borders. And so that's what you're seeing with these strikes on boats coming from Venezuela, the illegitimate Maduro regime. And the Trump administration is not going to tolerate. The president has always said he will use any and all means to protect our homeland.
Karoline, there was also some news on TikTok yesterday. There was that call that the president had with Xi Jinping. And after the call, the president noted that he appreciated the TikTok approval. The Chinese readout did not, the initial one, did not make mention of a deal, but they did say that they would respect the wishes of enterprises to conduct business negotiations. And then the president said this from the Oval Office yesterday. Let's play it.
It was great. I had a great call with President Xi, and as you know, he approved the TikTok deal. And we're in the process. We have some great investors, some of the biggest in the world, American investors, great people. And we look forward to getting that deal closed.
Would you accept a deal where China controls the algorithm of TikTok?
Well, it's all being worked out. We're going to have very good control.
Karoline, are you confident that a deal at TikTok has been reached?
Yes, we are 100% confident that a deal is done. Now that deal just needs to be signed, and the president's team is working with their Chinese counterparts to do just that. Great credit to Secretary Bessent and Ambassador Jamieson Greer and our Vice President J.D. Vance, who really led the charge on this and have been negotiating with the Chinese for months. And they were able to accomplish a deal that puts America first and keeps TikTok open for all of the young Americans and all of the small businesses who have benefited greatly from selling their products and really creating a name for themselves on this highly popular app. President Trump was ahead of the curve on this. He recognized the need to protect Americans' privacy and data while also keeping this app open. I saw your comments earlier, Kaylee, and you're absolutely right. TikTok is a vital part of our democratic process, and President Trump credits TikTok and, of course, Charlie Kirk for the wins that he had with young Americans in the last election. But this deal does put America's first, and let me just be very clear. This deal means that TikTok will be majority owned by Americans in the United States. There will be 7 seats on the board that controls the app in the United States, and 6 of those seats will be Americans. And the data and privacy will be led by one of America's greatest tech companies, Oracle, and the algorithm will also be controlled by America as well. So all of those details have already been agreed upon. Now we just need this deal to be signed, and that will be happening, I anticipate, in the coming days.
Making some news there. So 6 of the 7 seats will be American held. Sounds like a deal that puts American interests first. Karoline, a lot of news happened while you guys were overseas. Right. I know those foreign trips, they can be a slog, and the news doesn't stop. And one such news event that happened was Jimmy Kimmel and his suspension. And I have seen no reporting that there was pressure from the White House on Jimmy Kimmel. There were public comments made by Carr, but no indication that there was a discussion with Sinclair or the like, but that would be lost upon much of the media. I do want to pull this up, though, from former President Barack Obama. Here's what he said about this. Interesting, he chose to weigh in. After years of complaining about cancel culture, the current administration has taken it to a new and dangerous level by routinely threatening regulatory action against media companies unless they muzzle or fire reporters and commentators it doesn't like. Did I miss something, or is President Obama keyed into the inner workings of the Trump administration?
With all due respect to former President Obama, he has no idea what he's talking about. The decision to fire Jimmy Kimmel and to cancel his show came from executives at ABC. That has now been reported, and I can assure you it did not come from the White House, and there was no pressure given from the President of the United States. And how do I know that, Kaylee? Because I was with the President of the United States when this news broke in the United Kingdom. We were enjoying the beautiful and spectacular state visit that was put forth by the royal family and the Prime Minister of the UK, Keir Starmer. And I actually brought this news to President Trump's attention. He had no idea this was happening. It was a decision that was made by ABC because Jimmy Kimmel chose to knowingly lie to his audience on his program about the death of a highly respected man when our country is in a state of mourning. That was a decision that he made, and he is now facing a consequence for that decision and for that lie. And while I will add, and President Trump is right about this, Jimmy Kimmel's ratings are in the gutter. And this was probably also a business decision on behalf of ABC. I can't speak for them. I can speak on behalf of the President of the United States. And while he's pleased with this decision, we had nothing to do with it. It was ABC's decision, and it was certainly the right one by them.
Caroline, you mentioned that he chose to overtly lie about the motive. And it's not just, late night comedy. I played that montage of some of the comments we've seen of the press denying the facts. And, I'm curious. I was at the podium 5 years ago, and you'll remember you were there in the White House. There was a remarkable lack of curiosity from the press to acknowledge the science at the time, data that said kids should go back to school and remote learning would be devastating during COVID-19. I'm wondering now, 5 years later, you interact with the press. I would never ask you to give me a private conversation with a reporter, but just generally characterizing, has the press shown any sort of curiosity to getting to the facts of the motive of the Charlie Kirk case, to speaking with the DOJ, or do you believe that same sort of self-delusion or overt sowing of a left-wing narrative still exists in your interactions?
Well, I think that the press, unfortunately, still are blinded in many ways by their liberal worldview. And they all come from the same perspective. And I watched you when you had my job, Kaylee, and I take that same approach now, just walking into the briefing room knowing that the people in that room do not see the world in the same lens that we do in the Trump administration. And so it's my job to relay the truth and the facts to the press corps and really force those facts to break through, because they don't have an interest in reporting them as long as the facts don't align with their worldview and their perspective. And that goes back again to Jimmy Kimmel. He was trying to say that MAGA was desperately trying to blame Charlie Kirk's death on the left to score political points. Are you kidding me? The U.S. attorney in Utah and local and state law enforcement said that this killer had a leftist ideology and was driven by politics in his heinous assassination. Those are the facts, but because it didn't fit Jimmy Kimmel's narrative, he didn't want to talk about them. And so we still face that in the White House briefing room every single day. But I do think that the press are much more calm in this administration than they were in the first. I think November 5th, 2024 was a massive wake-up call to the liberal bias media about what the American people really want and what they really care about.
Caroline, final question. They're wrapping me. They're probably like, not another question, but I have to ask this. Charlie Kirk and what he meant to your faith. You are bold and beautiful, and you wear your cross at the podium often. And I just want to know what he meant to your faith. I saw your beautiful testament to him last week at the Kennedy Center.
Yeah, thank you for asking. Charlie was an amazing man. He was not only an influential political commentator, but he was a man of great faith, of deep faith. And, before I take the podium, I always pray to our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. I will continue to do that. And I will continue to think about Charlie and how he so boldly spoke the truth and courageously spoke about his faith. And I know so many, the president, the vice president, the Speaker of the House, we We have cabinet secretaries who will be speaking at his memorial service tomorrow in Arizona. We're actually taking 2 planes full of White House staff. That just speaks to how many people he touched at the highest levels of our government, and he will surely be honored and remembered tomorrow.
Beautiful. Caroline Levitt, thank you.